dude, what are you doing?
Sure.
And then he shows you pictures of his family. Oh, here's my kids. Here. And I would be like, what are you doing? Someone's calling for sex and they're paying for it? What else do they feel like they're entitled to?
Your life?
Rape.
Sure.
You know, some sort of asphyxiation. Maybe someone getting beat up because it turns them on, because porn takes you to a new level. And that's what gets these men to call, is that they get addicted to porn. They start looking at pornography material. They start, you know, engaging. They start like fantasizing. Then they say, oh, I wonder what it would really be like to get someone in real life. Let's try it. And all of a sudden you're getting a phone call. Go to this room and the guy opens the door and he's shaking. He's like, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, it's the first time you ever called? They're like, yeah, I've never done this before. Oh, so tell me why you're calling. Well, I've been watching porn for years. I mean, they tell you their story. Or my wife doesn't give me sex, or I'm single, or I'm lonely, or I'm still a virgin. I would have men that would call for their sons to de-virginize them. Isn't that crazy? The first time I saw my first ex-trafficker, I was at a nightclub called Daisy's, and I was getting my car out of LA, and I was just going through chemotherapy. I had lost all my hair. I was wearing wigs, and I was very sick with cancer. And he came up behind me and he said, I need to tell you that I'm sorry. And I lifted my head and my heart was racing, racing, because I thought he was gonna hit me. Because the last time I had seen him, I had left him, and I was at a nightclub called Shark Nightclub. And he had taken me in the back with the bouncer and beat the living crap out of me because I left him. And he walked up behind me and he said, I'm really sorry for what I've done to you. I'm ashamed of myself and I just need to ask for your forgiveness. He said, you're the best woman I've ever had in my life.
Did you believe him?
I did. He said he was sorry, and I cried. I cried, and you were asking earlier, why do I do what I do now? Because it brings my life meaning. And to let these ladies know that they're loved and that they don't have to sell their body for a living, and that God loves them and forgives them, and that he was never mad at them, and no one has a right to shame them or victim blame them or make them feel like they're smaller than they are, because they're beautiful, resilient women that have, to me, they're the most powerful women in the world.
Do you wish you had...
for a living? You know what I mean? Like, that's just not right. Like, why would you do that to another human being? Especially if they have feelings and they have a heart. And so for me, it's like the day that I overdosed, I realized what I had done with myself. I was like, oh my gosh, I almost took my own life because I was so devastated, because I had lost everything I made. The pimps got every single dollar. I had nothing to show for anything. And when you get to that low point in your life, it's like I told you about that guy that jumped off the parking garage. He lost $100,000. This is a true story. This is not gossip. He lost $100 grand and he couldn't tell his wife, so he killed himself. And I understand that shame. He couldn't bring himself to tell his wife, I lost our savings. He would rather kill himself. That's the point I was at. I didn't want my family to know. You keep everything you do totally secret. You don't let anyone know what you're doing because it is so shame-filled. It's part of the enemy's plan. The devil wants us to believe that we're nothing, that we're worthless, that we're a piece of junk, that we're nasty, dirty, disgusting, but that's not the truth at all. My soul's been forgiven. I've been cleansed, and I am beautiful in his sight. And when he looks at me, he always says, you're my girl. I love you. That's the words I wanted my dad to tell me my whole life. Hear my dad tell me he's proud of me. So I hope he sees me now.
While Annie found peace in her relationship with God, she also ended up getting married. I met up with her and her husband Oz the next night to hear his perspective on Annie's life story.
We met on MySpace.
Okay, that's magical. You guys have been married for how long?
14 years.
14 years. Did you think this was ever gonna happen?
I always felt like there was something better and somebody was gonna love me. I knew it deep down in my heart, but I know that was a God direction, that God was showing me that. So most girls don't have that compass like I did, unfortunately. How does a man love someone that's been with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of men, has been pimped for almost 18 years? How does a man love someone like that?
I mean, everything Annie just said obviously is from her perspective. But the cool thing is my life is based on faith. And I saw God do so many great things in my life. My prayers were all about, like, if God wanted me to be with somebody else, he would hit me over the head with someone. It was evident that she went above and beyond the list. You can't hear stories that she tells and not get upset, angry, and, you know, want to do something to that person.
How have you come to reconcile with even some of the dark parts of her past and some of the wrongs that have been done to her?
All I have to say is what's happened with her, she went through for a reason. and we don't know that reason. God knows the reason.
If there's a girl who was in a situation you were in years ago, is there light at the end of the tunnel?
There is not only light at the end of the tunnel, there is a celebration because now there's freedom and they just need to hang on. They just go call 702-883-5155 and then go to hookersforjesus.net or pinkchair.org. Get a hold of us and we will help you. And please donate to us because we do need help. We are a survivor-led agency.